Okay, you might be wondering why this is a weird time to do the third Atticus Hour because today's a Saturday. But that's the reason why it's special. So let's get on with the three next presidents that I'm going to teach you about. First, we're going to start in the mid-1800s with Millard Fillmore. Then we're going to go to the early 20th century with Theodore Roosevelt. And then we're going to go to the late 20th century with Gerald Ford. You probably have heard of Theodore Roosevelt and Gerald Ford, but probably not Millard Fillmore. How do you name a kid Millard? I don't get that. Anyway, so first we're going to start with Millard Fillmore. Don't call him Millard Fillmore. That's the same thing that I got mixed up with, okay? Don't call him that. Fillard is just as worse as Millard, okay? So Millard Fillmore assumed the office after Zachary Taylor's presidency. I know we have not learned about him, but he became the second president to die in office. Yeah. So Millard Fillmore was a really, really bad president. If you thought he was a good president at first as you saw him, you better change your mind, okay? After this. So, Millard Fillmore was president during the Compromise of 1850, in which Zachary Taylor had opposed or tried to veto. But he was still around for President Fillmore. I was about to say Fillard. I don't know why. I don't know why. Okay. So, Millard Fillmore signed the Compromise of 1850. It was kind of like, hey, dude, Zachary Taylor, you were so wrong about this compromise. I'm just gonna sign it. I'm gonna approve it. I'm just gonna go whoop-de-doo. Yippity. He didn't actually do that, but that's the way he kind of acted. And you might think, okay, he signed something. It delayed the Civil War for 10 years. That seems good. You might not want to think that after I tell you this about this president. So, in 1851, Fillmore signed the Fugitive Slave Act, which was a very stupid law. And Millard Fillmore, the Fugitive Slave Act stated that if a slave escaped from where they were kept, as like a piece of furniture or something, or just a piece of grass or something, they would have to be brought back to where they were kept. It was just really stupid, and that made the Whigs not renominate him in 1852. Instead, they let Democrat Franklin Pierce win the election. Now, that's a link. We learned about Franklin Pierce on my first Atticus Hour, and check it out. If you haven't seen my first Atticus Hour, go to it now after this. Okay? If you're pausing this video right now, don't, because I want you to listen to this. This is very important, people. So, now we're going to go to the early 20th century where we have Theodore Roosevelt. Now, he did some awesome things, let me tell you. He did awesome things. He again assumed the presidency. Oh my God. Do you know what I realized? All three presidents I'm telling you about today assumed the office. Wow. Okay, so Theodore Roosevelt, you might think, John F. Kennedy, it was the 35th president. Yes, I know that. You've probably heard of him. John F. Kennedy was the youngest man ever elected president at 43. Theodore Roosevelt is the youngest president to become president at age 42. So don't get that mixed up, because he assumed the office. He wasn't elected to it. Yeah. So, Theodore Roosevelt, in 1903 began the coal strike of 1903. I know that kind of sounds wrong, but what happened is they had no coal in the Northeast, so the whole entire, I can't use whole and entire in one sentence. Let me fix that. Whole Northeast would freeze. Roosevelt solved this. He solved the problem. Yippee! Okay, so Roosevelt was reelected in 1904, but I think one of the largest popular vote margins ever. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And in the same year, once he was reelected, he had a great idea. Okay? Don't think this is a bad idea, because it isn't. He made up the Panama Canal. Now, you probably might have not known that. I mean, he had the idea for it. You thought some other random guy from Panama had the decision of the Panama Canal. But no, this guy did. Okay, so starting in 1905, workers started building on the canal, and later they were finished in 1906. Was it? Yeah, I think 1906. In the same year, he became the first president to win the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the war in Russia and Japan, which was the Russo-Japanese War. Actually in the same year, 1906. Wow, so many things are going on in 1906. He signed the Pure Food and Drug Act, and you might get a sense of what that act is about already. Or if you don't, it's, well, I think you know it. I think you can get a sense of what it's about, okay? In 1908, he left office, considered one of the greatest presidents in American history. I ranked him 6 on my presidential ranking, so I think he was a really good president. Though this guy, not so much. Okay, this guy was Gerald Ford. Probably you've heard of it. If you didn't live in the 1970s, you probably didn't. If you did live in it, it's very likely that you did. So, he assumed the office not because of a death, but because Richard Nixon became the only president to resign from office. Okay? Didn't I talk about Richard? Yeah. I talked about Richard Nixon on the last Atticus Hour. Check to see if I'm wrong if you go to Atticus Hour number 2. Yeah. Okay, so Gerald Ford stepped into office with so many things around him. He was like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. Wow, this is a big country that we're running right now. In 1975, the war in Vietnam ended when Saigon fell to the communists. Really, that's it for Gerald Ford. I feel, for some reason, I feel like that's shorter than William Henry Harrison. He also pardoned Nixon. Yeah, for all the crimes that he may have done during the Watergate scandal. Which I also talked to you about in the last Atticus Hour. Yeah. Now, don't think that's it, because I want to tell you something. So I'm just going to set these presidential cards right here for a second. Don't pause this video right now, because I want to tell you something. And it's called the Curse of Tippacanoe. Now, for some reason this has happened, and some people don't believe in the Curse of Tippacanoe. But I've been so amazed about this. Okay, so 1840, William Henry Harrison was elected president, though died in office. 1850 was well, it happens every 20 years. That's the curse. So 1840 to 1860. 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president, and he got assassinated in 1865. Skipping ahead 20 years, 1880, James Garfield became our 20th president, but was assassinated in 1881. Skipping 20 years, 1900, William McKinley was reelected to a second term. He was assassinated in 1901. Skipping ahead, 1920, Warren G. Harding was elected president, and in 1923 died of a heart attack. 1940, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was reelected to a third term, and died of natural cause in 1945. 1960, John F. Kennedy became our 35th president, though was assassinated in 1963. Skipping ahead, 1980, Ronald Reagan was elected president, though he didn't die in office. Instead, he had an assassination attempt on him on March 30th, 1981. Skipping ahead, 2000, George W. Bush was elected our 43rd president, and he had two attempts. One was not an assassination, but the one that was an assassination was somebody threw a live grenade at him in 2005 while Bush was giving a speech. But it didn't explode. Isn't that really weird? I mean, once I thought about it, I was amazed. I really don't remember how this started, but I think in the Battle of Tippacanoe with William Henry Harrison, where it all started, I think the leader of the side that Harrison was going against, the leader's brother said a curse on Harrison. It's you don't have to believe in this curse, but I just thought it was very weird and something that I should share on today's Atticus Hour. If you think that's really weird, don't worry. You're reacting the same way that I was reacting when I first found this out. So, basically that's it. Yeah, it was kind of a special surprise that I'm doing this on a Saturday, though it still turned out well. I'm glad I told you about the 3 presidents and the Curse of Tippacanoe, because I thought it was very interesting to talk to you about that today. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Atticus Hour next Sunday, because I don't think it's going to be a Saturday next week. But thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.